The first thing you notice when you watch Isaiah Bond out of Texas is very simple, and it's one word: speed. This is an explosive athlete. His track background translates directly to the film, and it's not just his ability to run in a straight line, but his ability to maintain cuts and explode out of breaks in order to gain separation. It is going to make him a dynamic playmaker in the NFL. But he was never that productive in college, having to transfer away from Alabama, and even then only recorded one 100-yard game. If you enjoy this content, please consider liking and subscribing. But let's take a bit of a deep dive into the most explosive wide receiver in this draft class. Now look, there's only so many ways that I can say that Isaiah Bond is very fast. This is an X-Track athlete, and as I said in the intro, it translates to the field. And I can't say enough that he is quick, he's fast, he has long speed, he has acceleration, burst, quickness, any way you want to describe it. But what really made a difference to me watching his tape is the way that he's able to use this quickness, and the way that it translates to different areas of the field. It's not just the long speed to be able to burn someone deep, it's the explosivity off the line, it's that shiftiness in space, and it's the short area quickness where he's able to decelerate and then quickly burst out of a break to be able to win at the end of a route. He has an incredible ability to change direction while moving at top speed as well, and this makes him basically unguardable when he can get into top gear. So he has fantastic acceleration and the long speed to match, and there's projections that he might break 4.3 at the combine in the 40-yard dash, which would put him in some elite company. However, there is some questions here about how that's translated to the field, with some of the fastest wide receivers at the combine barely making an impact when they actually hit the field. One of the things that I think separates Bond from this is I think he's quite a crafty route runner as well. And that comes especially on routes like digs, where I think he's able to sell a route deep with kind of tempo changes and head fakes as well. That means that he's able to win not just through that explosivity, but from his ability to work with technique and precision, which I think should elevate him when he gets to the next level. The other thing about him, I mean, this guy is relatively short, but he has a relatively stocky build. And I think he can line up outside as well as in the slot. This isn't someone like other prospects that I've looked into, where that shorter build is going to mean that they just work within the slot. I think he has a good ability to extend outside his frame, and I think he's a good hands catcher. I think he can work at the boundary, more likely to work as a Z than an X receiver, and be someone that's a movable chess piece that you can use across the formation. The other thing that I would say is I think he's surprisingly tough for his size. I think he has good contact balance, and I think he can work across the middle of the field and able to catch the ball away from his frame and absorb contact at the same time, which is a huge thing for the NFL if you are going to be playing in the slot. A lot of his weaknesses come down to the same thing, and that is a lack of physicality. And I think he's tough, and I think he's more physical than he could be for his smaller frame. But that lack of a kind of alpha size does mean that he can struggle against more physical corners, particularly when you saw him play against Georgia this year, who are renowned for liking physicality at the cornerback position. I think when a corner can get into his chest, because he doesn't have the longest arms, he can struggle with this. I think a way that he could potentially get over this in the NFL is being able to develop his release package to mean that he can cope with more physicality. He is an explosive athlete, but I think he needs to be able to rely on other things than just that sure speed and quickness to be able to actually get off the line. If a corner can jam him into his chest, I think he can really struggle with that. The other thing is something that I noted in the intro to this video, and he really wasn't productive at the college level. If you're a data-driven person, a lot of the analytics behind Isaiah Bond really don't tell a kind story about him when it comes to yards per route run, targets per route run, and dominator rating, as well as breakout age. There's an argument that he truly never broke out in college, which is a concern given that he started at Alabama and eventually transferred to Texas, two incredibly prestigious schools, and Alabama in particular has produced some elite wide receivers in the past few years. Now, this could be a concern about him. It does show that there might be untapped potential by the time that he gets to the league, but only one 100-yard game in college is a real concern. Playstyle comparison was an interesting one here. He obviously has that elite speed, so there's a little bit of a conversation of what wide receiver you're going to stack him up against. Whether it's going to be someone with the long speed like Xavier Worthy, or whether you're going to go for someone that has that slight more stockiness to their frame. I've gone for Jalen Waddle, which is someone that I think thrives out of the slot but can play anywhere across the formation, has a bit of a stocky build to be able to deal with a little bit more contact over the middle, but can also burn deep. So I see them as quite similar players. Waddle was way more established in college, but Bond has that same potential to his game. In terms of projected draft value, he's currently being projected to go midway through the second round. I could see this potentially sneaking up, especially if he breaks 4.3 at the combine, as a lot of teams are going to fall in love with these raw athletic traits, maybe even pushing him up to the back of the first. Then, in terms of potential rookie round pick, it's currently quite difficult with this kind of group of wide receivers outside of the consensus top 3. I could see him sneaking into the back of the first round in one quarterback leagues, especially if he goes towards the back of the first round to one of those really exciting landing spots like Kansas City, Buffalo, Texas, or even Washington. If he doesn't, he potentially could slip down to midway through the second. And the same in Superflex leagues, where a few quarterbacks are going to go ahead of him. But it's really going to be a pick your poison type of thing with Isaiah Bond. Do you believe in the metrics and the data, or have you fallen in love with the film? And where is he going to rank for you? Let me know your thoughts on Bond down below in the comments. Does that college production worry you, or do you just love watching the film? Please consider liking and subscribing, and check out all of the other rookie profiles available on my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.